I've given up on modern AAA consoles at this point, and here's why. I made a video a couple of years back now, I think it was, about how I sold my PS5. I got into the newest generation, I bought a PS5, and I just wasn't really happy with the experiences that I was having on that console. Since then, I've kind of become a little anti-Sony in a lot of ways. I've just not been happy with their business practices. I've not been happy with their game output. I feel like they're focusing on the wrong things, and they've just done enough missteps from a business standpoint that I'm really not happy with them anymore. Don't get me wrong, I love PlayStation as a product, especially the history of PlayStation, but let's really break down into what happened to turn me away from modern consoles. So let's start with the Xbox. I've been a fan of the Xbox. I currently do have an Xbox One, which I guess these days you could say is still a modern console because it's still getting a lot of day and date releases that the Xbox Series and other platforms are getting. But I'm a little bit soured on the Xbox One as well. As I collect, I have about 35 games for the Xbox One, and almost every single one that I have installed has required basically the entire game to be downloaded after I put the disc in. Leading me to believe that the games really aren't being preserved because they really aren't on those discs. If I'm required to download 20 or 30 gigs of a game, I feel like when those servers go down, and inevitably they will, we're seeing now the Xbox 360 servers shutting down this summer, and we know it's inevitable. We know eventually the Xbox One and the PS4 are going to be sunset, whether that's 5 years from now or 7 years from now. It's going to happen, at which point there's going to be the inevitable Metal Jesus hidden gems and games you should buy before the e-store closes videos all over the internet. But I digress. I got a Steam Deck 2.5 years ago when the Steam Deck launched. And at that point, I started to invest in the Steam ecosystem. I had never really been a PC gamer before. I had a Steam account, and I had a couple of games on there that were particularly, PC experiences like Age of Empires and Command and Conquer. And I had an EA account, and I had some games in EA Play, and whatever, but I was not really a PC gamer. The Steam Deck changed all that. When I started to realize the breadth of the games that I could have, excuse me, the breadth of the games that I could have access to on that platform, the fact that I could get, Xbox exclusive games like the Halo Master Chief Collection and the Forza games and Microsoft Flight Simulator, all of these big tentpole Xbox franchises, they're on PC or they're on Game Pass PC, which I can theoretically access with a little bit of tinkering through my Steam Deck or other PC handhelds that make it way easier. But Xbox just has less and less relevance to me now. Sure, I have the console. Sure, I can buy a physical game and put it on my shelf, which, as you can see, I love to do. The problem is, I don't really have the game, do I? So the idea of moving forward to an Xbox Series console is kind of pointless at this point. I have my Xbox One hooked up to a 1080p TV, which means I would not benefit from the higher resolutions of the Xbox Series unless I move it to my other TV out here in the living room. And I don't really want to do that. I have a couple of consoles here and a couple of consoles in the other room, and that's the way I like to keep it. So I don't really need an Xbox Series at this point. I may eventually buy one just to keep my backwards compatible titles moving forward if my Xbox One breaks or something. But looking at Sony again, I made that video a couple of years ago about how I sold my PS5 because I just wasn't feeling it. You know, I bought a couple of digital titles, I bought a couple of physical titles, and it just felt like PS4 2.0, if you will. Like, there was not enough of a leap to justify the money. And there were basically almost no exclusive games if you don't count like Ratchet and Clank and Returnal, which I played Ratchet and Clank. It was good, but it wasn't a system seller. And to this day, if you're not a fan of God of War or Spider-Man, there's really nothing there for you. I mean, Horizon Forbidden West is on PS4. I don't know. So many of the games are still on PS4, and if you have a PS4 Pro, which I did at one point, but I give it to my son, I just don't really see the reason to have this Wi-Fi tower of a console taking up space in my display. I just don't need it. Now that I have Steam and we have these PlayStation games, I have Horizon Zero Dawn on Steam. I can play it on my Steam Deck. I can play it on my 3060 laptop. God of War is on there. Death Stranding is on there. Ratchet and Clank is either out or coming. I think it's out. Like, why do I need these consoles anymore? They have reduced their relevancy by reducing their exclusives, that is for sure. Although I don't really like the idea of exclusives because I like that they're coming to Steam. That's a really good thing for me with my Steam Deck, and I am so much happier with the Steam Deck, mostly because I prefer handheld gaming. Now, my friend Paige, the Fem Trooper, absolutely loves her PlayStation 5 Portal. The controller with a screen on it, not really a handheld, but it is remote play device. She absolutely loves that because she can play her PS5 games handheld, portable, around the house and around the world if you have a good Wi-Fi connection. Maybe if I had, kept my PS5 and bought a Portal, I might feel a little bit differently about it. But as it stands, with these companies not making handheld devices, 75% of my gaming time is spent in handheld. I do fire up the TV. Right now I'm playing Sea of Stars and on my Switch, and I absolutely love Sea of Stars on the TV. It's just graphically really beautiful, and for some reason the gameplay just lends itself to being on the TV, reminds me of back in the day, I don't know. But I'm playing Persona 4 Golden right now on my Steam Deck, and I wouldn't want to put that on the TV. I have played it on the laptop on my larger monitor, and that's fine, but I just like that form factor of kicking back on the couch with my feet up and my Steam Deck in my hand. So, what is the point of all this at the end of the day? Well, I don't see myself buying a PS5 again. I don't see myself buying an Xbox Series console at this point. Waiting to see what happens with the next generation and if there is any kind of a technological or creative leap, some kind of a gimmick or something that would draw me in. But like with the PS5 gimmicks, with the haptic feedback and stuff, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like the PS5 controller at all. I am an Xbox controller kind of guy. I have half a dozen Xbox Series controllers around here that I use for my emulation rig here. I use for my Xbox. I hook up to my iPad to play Apple Arcade games. I'm an Xbox controller kind of guy. And I think, honestly, Xbox does more business selling controllers than they actually do consoles because it's become sort of the ubiquitous PC controller at this point. Again, I'm getting a little bit off topic, but there have been people in my comments over the years expressing that they feel the same way I do, that there's just nothing for them in this generation. The games that are coming out are increasingly more and more samey. They just feel like things we've already played, and for me, I am much happier going back in time with something like remakes and remasters on my Switch, playing something like Mario versus Donkey Kong, or Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door from 15 or 20 years ago that are brought to a new console and given a fresh coat of paint. I would way rather play that than whatever the hell Concord is, 5v5 Overwatch clone. Like, do we really need that in this day and age? Like, this is the stuff that Sony's trying to push to us. These live service games with no soul. I just have complete, and maybe this is me. I just turned 46 this week. Jesus Christ, where did the time go? 46. And maybe this is just me being a grumpy old man. Get off my lawn. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you think I'm just screaming at clouds here. But I would way rather play a 10-year-old game that I hadn't played before, or a 6 or 7-year-old JRPG that I missed out on my Steam Deck or on my Switch, than anything that is currently exclusive to the current day consoles. I just picked up Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, on Switch, which I had played a significant amount of before, but never beat, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. I just picked up The World Ends With You on the Nintendo DS. It was pretty expensive. It was like $70 Canadian, but that game is thought of to be fantastic, and the remake that they did on Switch was really not well thought of, so I figured I would play it the original way. I'm digging my 3DS, guys. I'm digging the 3DS library, the DS library, the Switch, my PS3. Oh, I love my PS3. I just filled in my Game Eye app with my PS3 collection, which has undergone some changes. I had bought and sold some games, so I updated my Game Eye app. I have 155 PS3 games, so don't call me a PlayStation hater. I love the PS3, and the 7th generation of consoles was so special. It was the introduction to the HD era. So many games that brought out the open world concept, like Skyrim and things like that. So many fantastic experiences towards the end of its life cycle, like The Last of Us and Persona 5, that just absolutely blew us away with what the PS3 was capable of. And I feel like that magic was lost as we moved into the PS4 generation. Now, the PS4 was actually an incredible console, and it had an incredible library, but we started to move more and more and more into this games as a service thing, and DLC and microtransactions and games not being complete, which we didn't see as much of. There was DLC on the PS3 for sure, especially with things like Call of Duty games having season passes and DLC packs and things like that for extra maps. But for the most part, when you buy a PS3 game, you're buying the complete game. There may be a little bit of an update or a patch or something, but for the most part, when you put a PS3 disc in the machine, you're playing it in a couple of minutes. You're not waiting for a 20 or 30 gig download. So anyways, guys, let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Am I a grumpy old man screaming at clouds? Get off my lawn! Let me know. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay classy.